Campus Kitchen info session. My name is Matt Schnarr, and I'm the Expansion and Partnerships Manager here at the Campus Kitchens Project. And just in this presentation today, you're going to first just learn briefly about what exactly the Campus Kitchens Project is, as well as what a Campus Kitchen typically does. And then you're going to learn a little bit more about how to actually start a Campus Kitchen of your own, which will be probably the main focus of this info session. You'll learn about all the benefits and the steps to bring a Campus Kitchen to your school. Then we're going to conclude this time with as much Q&A as necessary, and also go over kind of the next steps to move forward with the process of bringing a Campus Kitchen to your school. All right. So I think it's really important to understand the big picture of what the Campus Kitchens Project is really all about. And so we're going to touch a little bit about, on each of the basic components of a Campus Kitchen and how the whole organization really came to be. So I think it's kind of good to set some context. So we're going to start with the issues that first led to the idea and creation of the Campus Kitchens Project over 12 years ago. So food insecurity and hunger are clearly a national need and something that we see in almost every community. Though it might look a little different with different faces, it's probably undoubtedly something that your community faces. And I'm sure you've probably heard some similar facts as to what, and statistics as to what is on the screen right now, that 1 in 6 Americans and 1 in 4 children don't know where their next meal is coming from. That adds up to about 50 million Americans living in food insecure households across the country. At the very same time, another issue at play is that about 40% of food in the U.S. is wasted each year, which is costing Americans billions of dollars in wasted resources. And the kind of two sides of this coin, both these issues kind of led to the first idea and creation of the Campus Kitchens Project. Another factor that's at play are academic institutions and the idea of service. So across the country today, we have a generation of young adults in college that are the most active and engaged in service that have ever existed. Where nearly 90% of all incoming freshmen have engaged in service before even attending college, and really see the importance of service in their community. At the same time, about 90% of, if not more, of campuses include something about civic engagement or community engagement as part of their mission statement for the university or college. So we know that college students really want to give back and serve, but we need to find a way that it's meaningful yet still convenient for them to do so. One of our core values of the Campus Kitchens Project is the idea of using existing assets or untapped resources. So these students that clearly want to be engaged in service are residing on over 4,000 college and university campuses across the country. Nearly every single one of the following: an on-campus kitchen that's not utilized at all hours, various quantities of surplus food from dining halls, part of that 40% waste we just mentioned, and again, active and engaged students that are really interested in getting real life and marketable skills and experience during college. Clearly a community that I think I muted myself there for a second. 1 second. Again, so within this mix of factors is where the Campus Kitchens Project was born. And then we really value utilizing excess to meet needs, and we realize that that really just makes sense to a lot of folks. And here at Campus Kitchens, we've really found the most effective and impactful way for that to happen on a campus. So those who, 1 second, there we go. Those that founded the Campus Kitchen Project decided really to just link all these pieces together and to create the model that we have now. So student leaders are recovering food that would otherwise go to waste from either their on-campus dining halls, local restaurants, supermarkets, farms, farmers markets, anywhere food might be going to waste. And then they're preparing meals after hours in their on-campus dining hall kitchens that they then are able to deliver those meals that they create to those in need in the community, whether that be at local agencies, shelters, or even to individual families. So let's take a quick look at what we do on a national scale. So last year, at a total of 36 campus kitchens, we're now actually up to 39, but last year, almost 20,000 volunteers contributed nearly 75,000 hours of service at their campus kitchens. So students can contribute to the program in a variety of capacities, whether that be from creating and delivering meals as volunteers, all the way to guiding the program as memberships of their leadership team, which we'll talk about in a little bit. These students then took recovered food and stored it on their on-campus kitchens. And last year alone, again, our schools recovered over 900,000 pounds of food that would otherwise have gone to waste. And with that food, students take part in cooking shifts throughout the week to prepare and repackage the donated items into balanced meals. And so last year alone, again, our schools were able to prepare over 270,000 meals that were then transported, delivered, and served to community partners and individuals in need, whether they be in shelters, after-school programs, low-income housing complexes, wherever. And last year alone, our campus kitchens fed over 9,000 clients at over 300 agencies, which is adding over $1 million of economic value back into the communities that we serve, which really allows the agencies to focus their time and effort and money on their mission and their empowerment of their clients. So you can see just by the numbers, the impact that we're making is pretty immense. But here at Campus Kitchens Project, we're not just about meals and not just about numbers. We always say that we're never going to feed our way out of hunger, and that food is really not the only answer to this problem. And this is really where our second key value comes from, is going beyond the meal. So we encourage all of our student leaders to think about how to use what we call using their food as a tool to enter into deeper relationships with the clients that they're serving. So there are clearly underlying root causes of hunger that might have nothing to do with actually being hungry, and these needs need to be addressed along with meeting the immediate needs with the food that we're providing. So by starting with the meals and using them as a foundation, students are able to really get their foot in the door to start relationships with the clients so that they eventually can learn more about the other needs they might have. Once other needs have been identified by the client, students can create community-focused programs to meet those needs, which are tailored specifically to the community and the clients that they serve, with their client input and those collaboration at every step of the way. So some examples of the programs that our students are creating include, but are clearly not limited to, programs revolving around nutrition education. So students create and conduct classes for youth, families, seniors alike, focusing on the specific health needs and concerns that their clients might have. We've even created our own nutrition education curriculum that allows any campus kitchen to adapt that program to the clients if that's the need that they have. Some campus kitchens are working with SNAP outreach, formerly food stamps, getting individuals eligible for their food benefits. Some are working on farmers markets and doing nutrition classes and cooking demos so that their clients can be educated on healthy eating habits, which can contribute to their overall well-being and potentially how their hunger and other situations they might be facing. Another type of program that a lot of our campus kitchens are working on are community garden efforts. So many campus kitchens choose to create their own on or off-campus garden or even farm to not only provide extra fresh produce for their meals, but also to allow for engagement of their community partners. So many schools bring their youth or maybe senior clients to their gardens and they can use their skills and use their hands to tend to the garden while teaching about healthy eating and really enabling just positive interactions. And being able to use gardens as an educational platform allow, again, for our campus kitchens to reach our clients' needs in other ways that go beyond just serving meals. Some of our campus kitchens also focus on economic empowerment type of programming, whether that be campus kitchens leading culinary job training programs where they can get their clients ServSafe certified to work in the restaurant industry, or whether they have campus kitchens that are bringing actual farmers markets or CSA drop-off points to their campus, which create more selling points for local farmers. Also, some work to contribute or create food hubs, which really can expand, the consumer market for all local farmers. And kind of another category of programs is just any type of community development, so any type of bringing the community together. So whether that be, maybe senior health and wellness classes or fitness classes, whether that be if they're working with youth doing after-school programs with mentoring or tutoring, maybe doing backpack programs for weekend meals, or even bringing community dinners, so bringing in populations such as homeless or veterans together to serve a community meal and bring in other agencies to that meal to kind of meet some of the other needs the clients that need the food might have. Again, since a lot of our schools have been doing these types of programs for decades, we have a lot of helpful toolkits and information for new schools that get started for these type of programs if your school is interested or if the clients that they're serving have identified those needs. Our third kind of core value and mission, along with using existing assets and going beyond the meal, is student leadership development. And it's really an amazing byproduct that has kind of turned focus of the work that we do with our campus kitchens. Since students are really, in essence, running their own nonprofit while they're running their campus kitchen at their school. They've been given really high levels of responsibility, which give them tangible and really work-relatable skills that line up perfectly with not only what they're learning in their classroom, but also what employers are really looking for after graduation. So through research that we've done with our student leaders, we've found that about 9 out of 10 students that have held a leadership role within their campus kitchen learned how to start or manage a nonprofit initiative, and it's the skill of really starting a project and seeing it through to fruition is something that's really marketable. Again, about 90% of students involved with campus kitchens felt more confident with their leadership abilities after participating, and nearly half said that their participation really actually changed their entire career path. And all those that were surveyed through our leaders said that they're definitely more likely to address food insecurity in their community after graduation, regardless of the profession that they choose. So it's clear that the impact that this program is having on students is far beyond what a typical maybe service program is that is offered at your current school. All right, so now that we talked just briefly about what a campus kitchen is and what they do, we want to spend the majority of the time talking about how to actually get one on your campus and what that process looks like. So we've created a really streamlined process for schools to follow in hopes of making the process as easy and hopefully fun as possible. There are 4 groups of support that we've found that each campus kitchen really needs to be effective and sustainable on their campus. That is school support, student support, dining support, and the community support. Each of these groups really work in tandem to ensure that the campus kitchen has the greatest impact on both the community and the university that's involved. And without one of these groups, the system really isn't as strong. But that being said, the way that each group supports a particular campus kitchen can vary greatly depending on your specific campus and your community and the assets that you're bringing to the table. So we're going to go through each of these categories, and after I explain kind of how that process works with each group, I'm going to give a really tangible next step to kind of start the process on your campus as soon as possible. That first step is just one part or one of the steps on our new online campus kitchen planner, which you can find on our website, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about later in the presentation. This planner was created to lay out all the necessary steps that a school must go through to ensure that they will be ready to support their campus kitchen at their school. The planner will go into much more detail of all these categories that we're going to cover today, and should really be your home base when you're planning for your campus kitchen. But again, we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a bit. So let's jump right in to talk a little bit about school support. Having the support of your school, it might not seem like the most important factor, can make creating and really sustaining your campus kitchen all that much more easy. So for each campus kitchen, we require at the very least what we call a sponsoring office. Like any other club or organization you might be a part of on campus, typically there's going to be a staff sponsor. This is really the place for the campus kitchen to call home on campus. And it typically falls under the Office of Service, Service Learning, Civic Engagement, Community Engagement, maybe even Campus Ministry. But can also be an academic department like social work, nutrition, culinary arts, even business. So some schools start their program through a class or using that professor as a sponsor. But again, typically that sponsoring office is found and staff sponsor is found where other typical service-minded programs are also housed on campus. So they're really going to be the first group you want to start to reach out to because they can really help you connect with other students, other programs, and other staff that might be interested in this project. Aside from having a general sponsoring office, fostering a variety of support with other administrators can only be to your benefit. So if you have a relationship or maybe other staff have a relationship with the president or provost or even dean of students, just getting them on board with the idea and fostering that idea can only help your cause. It also, again, the sponsoring office is a really great place to start to find some of that higher level support that you'll need down the road. Also just talking to other professors and others that you might have or other staff that you know, and not limiting yourself to just departments that might have a clear tie to hunger or food or sustainability, because you never really know who might be interested in these issues. So again, the first step, if you're just starting from the beginning, is to approach your Office of Service or comparable office on campus or even hire an administrator to talk about this potential idea of starting a campus kitchen. We have a lot of great one-pagers and resources on our planner to kind of highlight some of the frequently asked questions and help kind of guide your pitch to how to explain this program best to those that might be interested. All right, so now we're going to move on to student support. I think this is a pretty clear group that needs to be a part of a campus kitchen, because students really are at the core of every aspect of the campus kitchen, and they hold a variety of roles within each. So each campus kitchen must first have a really strong core leadership team consisting of anywhere from about 5 to 10 students. This leadership team is not only important once you get your campus kitchen up and up, it's also really crucial during the planning period as well. A leadership team really guides the campus kitchen and provides structure and support on campus. The leadership team can come from a class, a certain department, an existing club or organization, or just recruited from the general student body. We have a variety of ways that a leadership team can be formed. So students also must be clearly the volunteer base for every campus kitchen and provide just the physical manpower to run daily operations for what you do. The leadership team has to foster really vast support on campus to get students involved on the various day-to-day or week-to-week operations, such as the recovering of food, the cooking of food in the kitchen, and also the delivery of those meals throughout the community. All of that is really up to the students and the students' ability to carry that through. So students have the opportunity to lead those shifts as well as take on even further leadership responsibility by chairing a certain position on the leadership team, such as fundraising or kitchen manager or special events or volunteer manager or whatever that might be. So to talk a little bit more briefly about the leadership structures of a typical campus kitchen, each program has a coordinator to help with the program reporting and just the oversight. And that coordinator's position can be determined really by the program size. And it can result in a variety of different structures. So every campus kitchen, like I said, regardless of their leadership, have a leadership team of students. And some of those, that leadership team, along with the sponsoring office, really are the core leaders and the ones that really run the entire operation, which is just great. Though some campus kitchens have also, alongside that leadership team, a partial staff member, maybe a grad assistant or an AmeriCorps Vista volunteer, or someone else who can spend a little bit more of their day-to-day time helping grow and foster the program. Again, just a few other campus kitchens where the schools have really seen the value of the program and decided to institutionalize a position or a full-time staff position or someone who part of their role is to help run that campus kitchen. Again, regardless of the structure and if there's staff presence, there's still going to be a student leadership team. So let's see. Kind of to focus a little bit, since we've been talking a little bit about the weekly kind of operations of a campus kitchen, I want to kind of go over just an example operation schedule of what maybe a typical campus kitchen week would look like. It consists of a lot of moving parts that coordinate with, not only your food donors, but also with those in the dining hall representatives, and also those clients that you're delivering to. So here again on the screen is just one example of a weekly operations schedule. You'll notice that first in green are all those different food recovery shifts that are either happening on campus at your dining hall or perhaps off-campus locations such as a supermarket or a restaurant or maybe a farm. It requires a few volunteers to rescue and then store that food from that day in the location typically on campus. Then you'll notice in blue the cooking shifts. Some of them happen that same day after recovery, but might also take place the next. You'll want to coordinate, obviously, with your dining hall representative, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, the best time for you all to be in the space to do your cooking. And again, cooking can look a lot of different ways. It might be just repackaging or repurposing prepared product that you're receiving, but it also might be incorporating some scratch-cooked items into your meals. Then you'll notice in red the delivery shifts. So some of these are going to happen the next day after cooking shifts if they're delivered cold, but sometimes you also see that it might happen right at the end of your cooking shift. You're delivering your meals hot to the clients. Again, we'll be talking a little bit more about the way to really ensure that your time and temperatures falls within the proper safety limits. That's some training and resources that we provide as a network to all of our schools. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Again, so each campus kitchen looks a bit different in terms of their schedule, but you can kind of see that the three moving parts including food recovery, cooking, and delivery. Those are going to remain consistent for every campus kitchen in some regard. All right, so the next step here again for the student support is just to establish that student leadership team and that team that's going to be helping with the planning. Again, a good place to start could be looking at an existing class or maybe a club on campus that kind of might want to take on this project as its main leaders. There's lots of different clubs and classes revolving around sustainability or maybe even food specifically, and that can be a great place to get some really interested students. You can also just promote your leadership team through typical campus media or any type of way to promote to the general student body to get folks interested that might be interested in being a part of this leading and planning team for your campus kitchen. You can also kind of be in the process of looking into chartering your campus kitchen as an official student group on campus, which can help open up a lot of doors for potential funding and other volunteers and other things on campus. All right, so next we're going to talk a bit about dining. So dining services support is clearly another crucial component of a campus kitchen and the planning process. Generally speaking, dining services provides a few key things for every campus kitchen. There can always be exceptions. Those things that they typically provide are their kitchen space that is typically an on-campus dining hall, used not only for storage but also for the preparation of the meals. And typically that space is used after hours or on non-peak hours when the space is not being utilized to its full capacity by the staff. They also are going to hopefully provide donated leftover food from their meal service that's either used as is if it's prepared product or combined with other produce or other product and prepared into those balanced meals. Oftentimes dining staff can also act as kind of kitchen safety support when students need guidance or have questions. So this is obviously not required, but it tends to happen naturally where the dining staff can be a part of the process with the students. Dining services can sometimes be one of the more difficult components in terms of fostering support, just due to the fact that many dining service staff members might have some initial concerns about donation liability or kitchen safety hazards. So the Campus Kitchens project has tons of information and lots of tools that you can use to, again, help pitch the idea to your dining service staff and hopefully breach any of those concerns that they might have. I'm going to talk a little bit specifically about some of the liability issues that tend to come up in those conversations. So the Good Samaritan Food Donation Act is national legislation that's been enacted since 1996, and what that says is it basically protects all of those, including universities, who donate leftover food in quote-unquote good faith to needy individuals in their community. So the way that Campus Kitchens can really ensure that they're acting in good faith when dealing with their food donations is that we ask all Campus Kitchens to maintain a really comprehensive food safety and tracking paperwork system as part of the compliance and reporting of our network. So this paperwork system, also known as HACCP, which is just a fancy way of saying Hazard Analysis Critical Control Points, is our paperwork system that you'll be able to then track the temperature and location of every food donation from the time that it's donated to the time that it's prepared, prepared or delivered and served. So it's just our promise to help keep the clients that you serve safe and your volunteers accountable for the work that you're doing in the kitchen. And it also helps your dining services team feel a bit more secure and motivated to help you with your food recovery. We should also mention that part of being a campus kitchen is that we require the students that are leading the cooking shifts in the kitchen to be ServSafe certified. This certification is just the same kitchen safety certification that any restaurant or dining service staff employee must get. And it's a pretty simple online exam, which is explained more in the online planner. And just something to note, and kind of last but not least here, is that we've been doing this as a network for over a decade and have served over 2 million meals across the country and have never had a single instance in terms of liability issue regarding client food safety, due to the fact, again, that we take these precautions and have these tools available for all of our campus kitchens. All right, so again, the next step in terms of dining is pretty clear. It's just to reach out to your dining service director or manager. You might want to use your staff sponsor or other staff on campus to help facilitate this connection if they have some connections there. But pitching the idea of Campus Kitchen to them, and be sure that you have that liability information on hand that's available on the planner. So you can talk about potential space, potential food donations, and again, the planner is going to provide a lot of these tools and information that you'll need to help pitch the idea to dining. It's also, like I said, smart to come to those meetings with your sponsor or with other higher administrative staff that are already on board, so that, again, it gives them legitimacy to the program and the buy-in on campus. You can also start reaching out to not only dining, but also other potential food donors in your community, again, like restaurants and supermarkets, farms, hospitals, any other place that might have leftover food as well, to start coordinating potential food recovery from them. All right, and the last of the groups, and certainly not the least, is having community support. So the Campus Kitchens project really prides itself on being a community-focused program. Every Campus Kitchen fully assesses their community and identifies already existing assets that they can utilize for their Campus Kitchen partnerships. So your Campus Kitchen will need to identify and pick community partners to deliver your meals to, which we talked about briefly when we looked over the operations plan. So looking at what organizations your university might already partner with is a great place to start. You know, we call this kind of piggybacking on other service programs that your campus might already have. Maybe your campus already, you know, works with youth doing mentoring and tutoring, and maybe that Boys and Girls Club or youth service program might also benefit from having meals. So there's no need to necessarily go out and recreate the wheel and find brand new partnerships, when oftentimes there's a lot of existing partnerships already that can be, you know, just used and enhanced that are already happening on campus. It's really important, though, that the relationship between the Campus Kitchen and the community partner be as reciprocal as possible, where each group really benefits from each other in different ways. So when looking for potential partners to serve your meals to, keep in mind this whole mutually beneficial idea. And again, also note that the community voice really must be at the forefront of each decision that a Campus Kitchen makes. In fact, we often encourage that a community partner be on what we call an advisory board, so that they don't lose focus of what the actual felt needs are of the community, and that they're not, you know, that they're not overlapping services, but rather meeting gaps in services in their community. So the first step in trying to, again, work with the community here is going through and assessing the community needs as well as the assets, and then pinpoint any of those unmet needs and those gaps in services that hopefully that you guys can meet, and then set up meetings with any of those potential clients or agencies that you see fit. We provide a really great community assessment tool found on the planner that can help get schools started and really facilitate and guide the process of assessing your community needs. All right, so now that we've talked about those 4 categories, we're going to talk a little bit more of the logistics of some of the costs and benefits and value of the program. So physical costs and startup costs can be very low, especially when you're able to work closely with dining and others on campus to be able to share or receive in-kind donations. So most of the kitchen supplies, like hard materials and even some disposables, and then like things like pots and pans, can hopefully and ideally be donated from dining services and be shared. The only costs here are typically investing in, you know, insulated bags for transportation or a few other items that might not be able to be shared with dining. When asking your dining services to share materials, you can also see if they would be able to order your disposables like gloves and hairnets and things through with their larger orders with their providers and get potential discounts. But again, lots of times you're able to then just share and use those materials that dining already has available. Some ongoing costs can typically be small and include just kind of basic office and event costs. Some kitchens do buy small amounts of food to ensure that their meals are balanced, and, you know, getting food such as, you know, staple items like flour and sugar and butter that they might not get donated. You probably will notice, and we can talk a little bit more about this, that CKP, the Campus Kitchen project, does provide or does require an annual affiliate fee that's associated with being part of our network of $1,200. So this $1,200 provides each school with numerous benefits and resources and tools that the Campus Kitchen network offers exclusively to its affiliates that are part of the network. We're going to talk a little bit more about exactly what we provide here in just a second, but also realize and remember that we are able to provide a very time-tested and proven effective system and process to create and really grow and sustain your Campus Kitchen. So hopefully our expertise and our program staff's expertise will allow you to move quickly and easily to maneuver through hopefully any of the potential issues or challenges you might come up with when you're dealing with the different folks that you're working with on campus. And we then provide, again, all the knowledge and best practices and know-how of an entire network of schools that are doing this across the country. So talking just a bit more about what actually is our value and what we provide, because you might be thinking, how are we going to raise that money and what is that money for? But the good news is we provide you with tons of opportunities for startup grants that cover a variety, if not all, of the startup costs and even ongoing costs. And we'll talk a little bit more about that specifically soon. But Campus Kitchens also bring other things to the table as well for schools within our network. You can see here, kind of first and foremost, we provide general program support. So each Campus Kitchen have access to a full-time program manager who can offer all kinds of support and guidance in terms of really growing and developing the program that you have. We'll also provide all of our schools with monthly network webinars on various topics that can be really helpful to help, again, grow your Campus Kitchen program. Like I spoke about a bit before, the idea of student leadership development and best practices. So we provide two annual gatherings, that'd be a boot camp training and also a yearly conference for our entire network. We also have created an entire online library of all of our tools and resources that any Campus Kitchen member can access anytime. And again, like I mentioned before, we've also created, alongside with another national dining service provider, our Kitchen Safety Work or HACCP paperwork system. That is the tool, again, that we provided to keep the school free from liability concerns. We also can provide technology and marketing support, whether that be access to email and website and social media, and also just local and national publicity. But I think most importantly, again, we've found a lot of different ways to support you both financially and with financial and in-kind resources. So we also provide a platform for easy online fundraising. We do events throughout the year utilizing that throughout the network. And then again, maybe most importantly, is that we have ongoing grant opportunities for all of our schools to receive not only startup funding, but also funding to support your programs. I'm going to quickly talk about some of our funding that's available currently for startup and launches of Campus Kitchens. It's a rather new venture of ours that we're able to offer that adds even more value, hopefully, are our launch grant competitions, where schools that qualify and are selected to participate, they submit a short video showing the need in their community and why they believe a Campus Kitchen at their school would help impact that need. And then those videos are then voted on, which you can, I think, yeah, here we go. We have a page showing here that then we open up those videos for public vote throughout the week, and then the top schools that receive the highest number of votes each receive $5,000 startup grants to help plan and really implement their Campus Kitchen on campus. Here you can see, again, some examples of some of the videos and what that looks like. And to qualify for these competitions that we have happening throughout the year, schools must simply just submit 4 letters of support, one of which from a student group or student leaders, one of which from their staff sponsor, one from dining, and then a signed letter of intent from their school administration. As you can see here, schools that qualify through the Campus Kitchen Planner, and then again should submit that short video is the final component of the grant process. I'm going to go right back here one last time to kind of see what we have available. We're about to start a grant competition here in the coming month, focusing on older adults and older adult hunger. We have one that might be interesting for some of you on the call now. We have another grant competition that's going to happen after the first of the year, so the deadline for that is early February. And then we are constantly trying to provide other grant opportunities throughout the year for other schools and areas and other areas of interest as well for our different Campus Kitchens. So always keep your eyes out on our grants page, which you can see the link there at the bottom, which is just grants-opportunities. All right. So let's talk a little bit more just about the specifics of how to actually go through the Campus Kitchen, this launch process. So now that you kind of know the basics of the different parts and folks that need to be involved, the actual application process can kind of be broken down into 3 steps. First is to fill out our very simple just getting started form, which you'll see the link there, and it's very easily accessible from our website. And this initial form is very simple, and it just assesses or takes information very simple information regarding the contact information of you and your school, and a few more questions about kind of your campus and your dining service provider and things like that. But it's a very simple form, and anyone who's interested at all in getting access to our planning tools can easily fill that out and receive access. The bulk of planning and the bulk of your time is spent, as I've mentioned many times, in the Campus Kitchen Planner, which again is basically a largely glorified project management tool, which outlines all of the different steps that are necessary to be taken to get your campus kitchen up and running, with the idea that after you've completed the entire planner, you are ready to launch your campus kitchen. We're going to jump over and look quickly at what this planner actually looks like. You'll notice right off the bat that you'll see the same 4 categories of support: the school, dining, student, and community. And each of those categories has a list of different tasks that need to be completed under that category. So when you click each task, it opens up into that frame where it explains a little bit about that current task. Here you see the task is make an operations plan and a schedule for your campus kitchen. And then on each of those cards, there's a checklist of items that you can go through and physically check off to make sure that you've done that in its entirety. The Campus Kitchen Planner is also great because aside from just being able to track your progress for your planning, you also are able to see all the accompanying resources, documents, forms, basically anything you would need as you go through the process. There you can pull up in the Resources tab information about the beginning of how just to pitch to each group, to all the way to the really logistical forms and different information and structures and things that you might need as you go more deeply into the planning process. Again, you'll see once you click on any of those resources, it opens up right in that same window. We're able to then read a bit more about it and then even different worksheets or forms and templates and things that you need. So again, the planner is really a one-stop home base for you and your entire planning team, because you're able to actually invite your leadership team and other staff members on campus to your specific planner board, so you can assign them different tasks and kind of keep up with your planning so that it can go as quickly as possible. And then finally, once the Campus Kitchen Planner is complete, and typically you might also be doing a grant competition that we talked about earlier, once all of those things have happened, basically all you need to do is ensure that you have our contract signed by your school administration. And again, the information on how to do that is on the planner. And then once that is signed, we can then set up an official launch visit where one of our staff members can come and do a setup of your campus kitchen and train all your volunteers and make sure that you guys are ready to start operations. All right. So that's actually going to conclude the formal part of the presentation. I want to just thank everyone for taking the time to participate with this webinar. I want to open up the floor for questions if you want to speak them aloud or type them in the chat box. I also want to remind folks that if you are interested in continuing and learning more about the Campus Kitchens project and planning, that if you go to the website you can see on the screen here, the Start a Kitchen website, you can fill out that form I talked about and get access to a planner. That by no means says that you need to continue or follow through with the process if you don't want to, but it's a great way to kind of see and understand the process and maybe invite some other folks that might be interested so you can kind of see the entire process in front of you. So I'd highly recommend getting access to the planner if you're interested. So I'm going to unmute folks here, and so if there's any questions, feel free again to, if you're on the phone, to speak them aloud or again type them in the chat box. Okay, sounds like maybe no questions. Oh, never mind, just got one. Do you have any community colleges, non-residential at all, that have been successful with campus kitchens? That's a great question. We actually do. You can understand why there probably are some challenges involved with either non-traditional students or commuter schools, but we have some of those in our network and actually are working with quite a few other community colleges and kind of commuter schools that have maybe not the traditional campus setup. And again, your campus kitchen might not look exactly like what we explained, but there's lots of different ways to bring the program to a variety of different types of campuses. So maybe you might not be able to use an on-campus dining hall or kitchen, but you're able to find a kitchen at a local church or another organization nearby, or perhaps it's more difficult to find a student leadership team, but we're able to work with every school and kind of address some of the specific challenges that they might face. But definitely community colleges and those kind of non-traditional colleges are equally interested.
Clarify.
Were there any other questions?
We just muted this. And then...
All right.
All the chats are.
What we're currently doing? Would that be helpful?
Yes, that'd be great.
Okay. Currently, Sodexo and Shenandoah, we are doing a food